do it all. The angels willing to hold us in their arms. When our worth of stone, our ashes, and we both passed on. Let forever mean forever and carry on.
Good afternoon. Has it sure been an eventful weekend? Not for us, thankfully, but in the world. So first off, I want to thank, I still don't think we know exactly who it was, but I want to thank whoever it was that sent the military-grade coffee. That's some good stuff. We had gotten a package on Saturday, unexpected package, and it was a pound of, and the brand was military grade. Really good coffee. I mean, that stuff is some really killer coffee. It's got, coffee, of course, but it's got a hint of chocolate and caramel in it, and it's, man, is that some good stuff. So I want to thank whoever it was. We have no idea who it was that sent it, but we highly appreciate it. And we're actually drinking it right now. So good stuff, though. Man, is that some good stuff. So there's a lot going on in the world. And things are really ramping up in different areas, both here and abroad. Man, with what's going on with Iran, that's extremely concerning. And we're gonna get into that a little bit more. I've seen a lot of different information, a lot of different places, some of it being conflicting, so which should be no surprise. But even here domestically, my goodness, I'll tell you what, the government has really pissed off a lot of people here in the United States with this whole ordeal with vaping. So now that it would appear that we've got the record set straight, at least with the administration, as to the actual cause of the deaths and all the lung disease illness, they're still apparently going after the flavors. So New York has now put in an executive order, and they have immediately banned all flavored e-liquids in the state of New York. I'm trying to think of what other state it was. I just saw some other state had done it, and I've seen a few cities start popping up here just within the last couple of days that are doing the same thing. They're effectively just completely banning all e-liquid flavors. The only thing that's going to be legal is going to be tobacco or menthol style flavorings, and that's a shame. That is a serious shame. This is a battle that I've been involved in since about 2009. And I have to actually say, for the first time, I am actually concerned as far as the future of vaping. So I know I would like to get into the salt nic vaping a little bit more. And so I'm going to make that a priority to try to get stocked up on some of those salt nicks. Because man, is this ever going through? And I think they're going to go full bore through with it. I think it's going to be a federal thing. And man, that's a shame. Now, unfortunately, that's not going to do anything to combat the teen vaping issue. But, you know, I don't think that's the intent of it. I think Big Tobacco found and Big Pharma found a way that they can really get their foot in the door here and achieve their goals that they started out on in 2009 or a little before. They have been against vaping for a long time, even though some of these major tobacco corporations like Philip Morris owns vaping industry. Philip Morris makes the Juul. So, they still want to see vaping go to the wayside. And the reason why is because they can't make near the money off of the vaping industry that they can off the tobacco industry. And of course, Big Pharma, well, they can't make near the money if people aren't as sick. So, It's sad. It is truly sad. And I had said it before, the only way you're going to find any truth behind any of the research is if you go and find like studies out of the UK, which have been actually starting to release long-term studies. And their take is that it's 95% less harmful than smoking cigarettes, which anybody that's vaped any length of time could tell you that. But it's sad that you have to go there to find the honest studies. And the difference with that is their medical industry over there doesn't make money if people are sick. See, they're incentivized to get people healthy over there, to where here in the United States, it's actually the opposite. They're incentivized to keep people sick. So that's why, unfortunately, when it comes to medical things, you really have to go abroad. And whether it be on vaping or any other number of topics, you really do have to go abroad to try to find the truth. But it is crazy. So, like I said, I know what I'm going to do. I've got plenty of the conventional nicotine in stock here. I've got a full liter of it back there, and I make my own juice. But I've got a full liter of it back in the freezer, plus just a little bit in the bottom of the other liter. I literally just made up, let's see, just over 1,000 milliliters of juice over the last 2 days. So that's all made up and ready to vape. But I do want to dabble in the salt nicks, but I'm waiting. Hopefully Prepper Nurse 1's sales start picking up a little bit, because that will definitely help me on that journey. But anyway, there's a mod I'm going to get, and what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to stock up anywhere between like a year and a half's worth of e-liquid. I don't really want to stock any more than that because of the shelf life. If you make your own juice and you have nicotine solution, like I have 100 milligram nicotine solution, I can keep that in the freezer indefinitely. However, you don't want to put anything with flavorings in it in the freezer, because it will cause the flavors to become muted. So, as far as sitting out room temperature, about a year and a half, 2 years is really about all you want to go. So anyway, fortunately, it's not that expensive at this time. If I get a chance to be able to jump the ball here and get it done, I'm actually going to contact a couple of different companies and say, hey, look, I'm looking to stock up. Can I get any kind of a discount if I buy, say, 10 bottles of something, and a lot of the places are, around $12 a bottle for the Salt Nick vapes. So, and then after I do all that, I'm probably gonna get some regular unflavored, 100 milligram Salt Nick. That way I can start dabbling with that. You have to reformulate your recipes in order to get them to taste right. With Salt Nick versus the conventional nicotine. So, it's going to take me a little while to get the flavors that I'm used to vaping now, the stuff I make myself, but it'd take me a little while to get it to where it tastes the same with Salt Nick versus regular, I'm calling it conventional Nick. That's just what I'm used to. But anyway, it's going to be one heck of a battle. I'll tell you what, there's already been, what do you want to call it? Groups of people have already organized and started protesting. I'll tell you what, this is really gonna stir the pot. It really, truly is. There's a lot of vapors in this country, a lot. And the sad thing of it is we all know the truth. We know the truth behind it. I noticed in a sign that one of the vapors was holding at a rally in Texas, and he had a sign that said, I haven't smoked, and it had a blank line where you write in your own, and his was 11 years. He hasn't smoked in 11 years, and he quit. He quit on, I believe it said Mother's Milk was the brand of, the flavor and brand, which is like a strawberries and cream. And, I have to say for myself, when I actually committed to quitting, It was what I call my strawberry milk, and I'm actually vaping on that right now, which if I made the full recipe the way I initially made it, originally when I made it, it tastes real close to like a strawberry Nesquik, but I kind of cheat on the recipe I have now, and I cut down the amount of different flavorings I put in it, and it really doesn't taste a whole lot like strawberry milk, but it's strawberry and cupcakey, kind of, so kind of like a strawberry cupcake kind of taste, but anyway, man, I'm telling you, this is crazy. So let me run through my normal stuff, and then we'll get to talking about Iran and how we should respond to this, because this is serious. This is definitely a serious escalation, but I am very, very suspicious. So let me run through the normal stuff, and we will go from there. So Amazon affiliate, as soon as I find my mouse. Amazon affiliate, we are up to 5718. I was like, wow, that is awesome. And it's only like the 16th. So I highly appreciate you guys using that link. Our record is 88 something. I can't remember the change on it. So hopefully we got a good shot of breaking our record this month. That would be like really cool. So anyway, thank you very much for all of those that participate in that. For those that don't know, we have a link in the description of the video, as well as on our homepage, thewatchmannews.com, right here. That will take you to Amazon. If you use that link to go to Amazon and then purchase products, it doesn't cost you anything more, and it goes a little bit our way. So we also have an Amazon store. That link's in the description, as well as right here on the homepage at thewatchmannews.com. And it's essentially a page I have set up on Amazon that's got a bunch of different categories and a bunch of items in those categories. And same thing, it doesn't cost you anything more, and it throws a little bit our way. So the last way you can help, if you're not an Amazon shopper, is we do have a donate link. That is in the description of the videos. Or you can go to thewatchmannews.com/donate. Or you can click on the menu item right there at thewatchmannews.com. That will take you to our PayPal donation page. So, when you don't get an error, let me refresh. If you ever see that, just click refresh. I don't know if that's just something I see or what, but just click refresh, and you don't have to have a PayPal account. You can do it as a guest with a debit or a credit card. And I always let people know that it does say Transforming Disabilities right there. That is us. It will also say Purpose the Watchman News donation. That way you know you're in the right place. So, never required and always appreciated. So, now that I got that out of the way, let's talk about this situation in Iran a little bit. We have noticed over the entire summer, they have really been poking and poking and poking at Iran. And now all of a sudden, there is some oil fields that are attacked in Saudi Arabia, and the United States is flat out saying, Iran did it, Iran did it. Now, the Yemeni Houthis have came forward and said that they are responsible for the attack. But that's not good enough for the U.S., you know. So anyway, let's talk about the attack a little bit. I've been seeing word that it wasn't like actual oil tanks or anything like that, but instead it was like the infrastructure that you would use to pump the oil out of those tanks. So when you think about this, there's a lot of headlines talking about, oh, this is such and such percent of the world's oil supply and this and that and the other thing. In fact, oil jumped up today. I think it's 70 something cents a barrel now. Let's see what it is market close here. It looks like it maybe came back down a little bit. I'm showing $61.88 a barrel is what it currently is. So I think it came back down just a little bit. Oh, thank you, Julie. Jen just let me know you donated. Thank you very much. So that's good. If the world's kind of coming back down, hopefully it'll level out. Hopefully it won't hit us at the, well, we don't drive, but hopefully it don't hit you guys at the gas pump too awful hard. So I question this attack on many fronts. And number one, why was the infrastructure targeted and not the tanks? That just seems awful interesting to me. It really does truly seem interesting to me. Because if you really wanted to do damage, if you really wanted to hurt Saudi Arabia, then you would have hit the tanks. You would have destroyed the oil. But that's not what happened here. Instead, from my understanding, it's just like the pipeline and the equipment and stuff that you would, again, pump the oil out of the tanks into wherever they pump it. So that kind of raises question to me, because I would call that a very limited attack. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's indeed an attack, but the amount of damage, the amount of loss involved is much, much smaller there. Now, the other thing that I found very, very interesting is in communication with somebody else that was talking about this situation, I found out that the one that's going to be most affected by this is going to be China. And I forget the number that they had said, but it seems like China gets like 70% or something to that effect of their oil from this particular place. So I got to thinking about that. Now, call it my tinfoil hat, but what I'm seeing here is two birds, one stone. Right? Legitimize a war with Iran and hurt China. Because we all know if you take, folks' fuel supplies, if you take their fuel away from them, their energy, you're going to hurt them really bad. Really, really bad. So I have to really take a step back and look at this and say, what is going on here? Now, clearly, I don't buy that Iran is behind it. I really don't. I did watch a conference today between Rouhani, Putin, and Erdogan, and it was very interesting to listen to that conference. Of course, Rouhani came out pretty heavy against the United States, which is to be expected. But I also noticed that Putin really tiptoed around it. I mean, he was like a ballet dancer. Really, seriously. And I understand that diplomatically. He can't come out so hardline. But there was kind of a humorous moment during the press conference to where Putin had offered Saudi Arabia to buy some S-300 and S-400 missile systems to be able to protect their things against attacks. I thought that was kind of humorous. But, I would tell people, as I keep continually saying, get ready, please. I'm pleading with you. Because if this breaks out, and it literally could any moment, if this breaks out, we could be hurting real quick. And while Iran doesn't really have the means to come over here and directly attack us militarily on the homeland, they do have the ability to attack our infrastructure, our power grid, the controls for different things like dams, locks. And that could really put a hurting on the United States. Could you imagine if they had done something, or anybody had done something that would cause dams to break away? I mean, that would be devastating in and of itself. But then could you imagine the power grid taken offline? I'm again reading the Borrowed World series by Franklin Horton. I started rereading that series, and the reason why is because this coming month he suspects that he's going to have the 7th book in this series completed. And in fact, I believe he said he's got it written and he had sent it off to the editor. So it's at that stage. And so I just kind of wanted to run back through the series, 6 books so far, and re-familiarize myself with the series. And I found it kind of interesting as I'm doing this, because the first chapter covers just the terrorists and the attack that happens. And, you know, after watching all of this stuff go on, it really does send alarm bells up. It really does. Reading that first chapter and how those terrorists had done things is shocking. Absolutely shocking. Let me give you an example of one of the techniques that they used. And they took mortars, okay? And what this guy did is he took a bucket of water, and he would take the mortar, the tip of the mortar, and stick it down in the bucket of water, and then stick it in a deep freezer. And about an hour later, he would come back, take it out of the deep freeze, dip it in that water again, stick it back in the freezer. And he kept doing this and kept doing this until he had a considerable amount of ice built up around the head or tip or whatever you call it of that mortar. And then what they did when they deployed it is they set up the tube or whatever they call it. I'm not military, folks, so forgive me. But they set up the tube for launching the mortar, and then they set the mortar round down in there. But the ice would prevent the mortar from going all the way down into the tube and firing. So in other words, you know, they had a crude timing device for that mortar. And so that is how they attacked several of the oil fields and whatnot across the United States. And when you read that, you know, you think, man, that is like a super low-tech way, but effective. And it's concerning when we are involved in so many of these Middle Eastern countries, you know, in the ways that we are. It's concerning. And I want to say in the book, the terrorists, I want to say are from Pakistan, not that it matters, but, you know, it's something we really need to start paying close attention to. And like I said, we really need to be prepped. We really do. Because this is a matter of a blink of an eye kind of thing. I mean, this will really, really quickly escalate if and when it does. And I firmly believe it's going to. Because I do not buy the official narrative. I'm not buying it. You know, now I think they're saying that Iran did it with cruise missiles. It started out that it was done with drones, and now it's already changed to cruise missiles. I'm not buying it. I'm certainly not buying it. You know, where's the evidence? Luke Rudowski did a video today talking about this incident, and you know, he had brought up the same thing. Where's the proof of an attack? You know, like he said, there's some still pictures and stuff like that of some stuff on fire. No big major fireballs, no video of some major huge explosion or anything like that. Nothing. Just some still pictures. That's it. And, you know, when you think about that, especially when you think about all the technology today and there's cameras everywhere, you know, it does really make you wonder. And I'm sure at an oil refinery or oil storage facility, they're going to have plenty of security, including plenty cameras. So it's very interesting. I very rarely buy the official narrative, and this time I really have a problem doing it. But now they're, like I say, ramping it up. And as Luke had pointed out, you know, all their information is coming from, you know, unknown sources. You know, I mean, it's unbelievable. It truly is unbelievable. There is a very hard push for war. Now, I was shocked the other day when I read the article about how Trump said that he was even more hardline and hawkish on Venezuela than what Bolton was, and that was one of the areas they disagreed on, because, you know, Trump said that he was even more hardline on it. And it's like, that was shocking, because I thought it was just the opposite, to be honest. I thought it was just Bolton trying to get us into a war every 2 minutes. And, you know, so who knows? Who knows? But, you know, in the end, none of that matters. The only thing that matters is how can you respond to it? How can you respond to it? And that's what I think we need to be focusing on right now, is our response to an event like that. Because if we're not ready, it's not going to wait. It's not going to say, and SHTF isn't going to say, oh, well, we'll give you another month or two. It'll be okay. Doesn't work like that. Doesn't work like that. So do whatever it is you can to get ready. I know I need to go back through our batteries. It's that time again. Every so often I go through, we've got a bunch of 18650 batteries that I scavenged out of used laptop batteries. And I go through every single one of them and recharge them, get them all charged up. I go through the flashlights. I go through the power banks. I go through everything we got that's rechargeable. And I top everything off. And it's getting about time that I do that again. And it's really about time that I get the winter stuff laid out to put in the bug out bags. I wouldn't quite put it in there quite yet, but it's probably a good time for me to get it gathered and ready to swap out. So I know I'm going to have to work with my bug out bag a little bit because I'm pretty well out of room in it, and there's zero food in it. Zero food. So that's an area we've got to work on too. So I think what I'm going to do for bug out bag food, though, I really do like the idea of MREs for that. I know that on Amazon there's somebody that's got like a case of them for like $75, a case of 12 MREs. So that's probably the direction I'll go with the MREs. And then of course we need to get more regular types of food stored back. I wouldn't mind getting a little bit more freeze-dried food, but I really want to start hitting on like wheat and corn, and of course more rice and beans and stuff like that. So, I'm going to have to rearrange, like I said, the bug out bag because I got to make room. Because I would like to carry, again, I would like to get that case of MREs and then split it up between Jin's bag and my bag. So I got to make space for like 6 MREs in there. So which won't be hard to do, but nonetheless, it's one of those things that's got to be done. Trying to think, if there's anything else that I recalled from reading throughout the day. I mean, it's it's definitely a serious situation, and the United States is really convinced, or at least saying they're really convinced, that Iran is behind this. Iran's responding by saying, bring it on, essentially. Iran's saying that they're ready for war. Not a good situation. And like I say, they might not be able to necessarily get here and invade our homeland. But they can do so electronically, digitally. So it's something we need to be concerned about. When it comes to SHTF, Grid Down is a very, very formidable opponent. It's one of the worst of the things that can happen. So, make sure you're prepared to deal with that the best way that you can. The best way that you can. Go through, like I said, I'm going to be going back through the batteries here probably over the next couple of days. Start, going through your items, checking them out, check your expiration dates, check this and that. Just make sure everything's in order. Make sure everything's in order, because you know what? This is something you don't get a chance to do twice. When SHTF does happen, you're in it. You're in it. There is no redos. So, make sure you've got things set. I know there was somebody that posted in a Facebook group today about lights and lighting. Somebody's messing around with making their own like little lanterns. He used an Altoid tin and poured some lamp oil in it and put some wick in it and stuff like that. And he posted pictures of what he's doing and stuff, and I made sure I commented and said, hey, I keep cotton wick, candle wick in my bug out bag. That way, if I'm ever in need of light, all I have to do is find, motor oil or any type of petroleum product and pour that in a can with some candle wick, and boom, I've got a candle. So, little things like that. That is a prep I highly recommend, by the way. Go to eBay, Amazon, wherever, and buy yourself some cotton wick. For, candle wick. You can buy it in like 100-foot lengths. That'll last you a long time. A long time, and it's not very expensive. I always make sure to let people know, don't really cash in on your electronic preps. Have them. By all means, have them. God knows I've got them, and I love them. But make sure that you've got low-tech answers to the problems, too. Because, say, for instance, an EMP, an EMP happens, guess what? Every one of our flashlights that we have is done. It won't work. So keep that in mind. You don't want to have all this cool gear and still be literally, no pun intended, or actually pun intended, left in the dark because your preps were destroyed by the event. So low tech's always a good thing. Always a good thing. But most importantly, go over stuff. Go through your preps. Look for any holes that you might have. Try to patch them up. And just do what you can to get ready. Because again, if this kicks off, it could happen quick. Can you imagine if we threw some tomahawks into Iran and Iran responded with a cyber attack on our electrical grid and then just boom, gone? Now how long would that take? Literally, they could respond in minutes. There is no warning for that. You're just in it. It's crazy. It really is when you think about it. So make sure you can respond to it. Make sure it's not a reaction. Make sure it's an action. The best advice that I can give. So anyway, I've got a lot of headlines to go through. Let me have a sip of coffee here. Because I actually did a decent job on Saturday and Sunday of tweeting things out. So there's a lot of stuff here. So another sip of coffee because it's in the contract and, it's underlined. So that means 2, right? I'm telling you, that's some good stuff. Let me show it. Let me see if I can find it real quick and show it to you. For those interested, it is just some really good coffee. Yeah, there it is. That's the stuff. Let me bring this up on camera. That is the coffee. That is some really, really killer coffee. That's some awesome stuff. And once again, thank you, whoever did that. Our mystery Santa coffee. That is some incredible stuff right there. It's a real rich flavored kind of coffee, and like I say, it's got chocolate and caramel, just real light, but you can definitely taste it there. It's like I say, it's really good stuff, awesome stuff. So yeah, that's the coffee I'm talking about. Okay. Speaking of that, now I gotta have another sip. Okay, let's see. Starting from Saturday, the latest Houthis claim drone attack on Saudi oil plant. So here they are. The Houthis took claim for it. Pro-Beijing protesters take to streets in Hong Kong. Fire at Saudi Arabia Aramco oil facilities caused by drone attack. See how they start out saying drone attack. Yellow vests gather in Nantes for 44th round of protests. I'm sure I said that wrong. Trump says Osama bin Laden's son was killed in U.S. operation. Let's see. Same article. Trump says U.S. and Israel negotiating on mutual defense treaty. New Zealand man brings emotional support clown to layoff meeting. That's good. Let's see. Mozilla wants to hear your tales of YouTube radicalization, so unwanted videos get censored. Mozilla is now on the censorship bandwagon. Canada seizes and sells $30 million worth of Iranian assets to compensate U.S. victims of terrorism. Bolton resurrects pair of PACs to prop up Congress's top warmongers. A Hong Kong protest leader calls on Trump to add human rights clause to China trade talks. I'm all for that, by the way. Sackler family behind OxyContin busted, trying to hide $1 billion as lawsuits over opioid crisis piles up. This is for dead babies. Anti-vaccine protester douses California senators in menstrual blood. Oil prices may slump heavily in 2020. Well, that's been fixed, right? U.S. abortion doctor stashed over 2,000 preserved fetal remains at his house. I mean, that is like insane. Insane. Trickle-down economics doesn't work, as protest movements worldwide show, says Kaiser report. Iran signs $440 million deal to develop Bilal gas field. Sitting on a gold mine, thieves steal 1 million euro toilet from UK palace. By the way, that toilet, it's what do you call it? Not a display, but whatever you call it. It's like art, you know. And it's called America, right? That's the name of it. Not kidding. Watch anti-government protesters fight with Beijing supporters in Hong Kong Mall. We're still on Saturday, by the way. Court orders Julian Assange to stay in prison while awaiting U.S. extradition. Oh yeah, this was crazy. Texas school district told 4-year-old boy he had to either cut his hair or wear a dress. Saudi Arabia willing and able to respond to attacks, says a report. Pompeo blames Iran for drone attack on Saudi oil facilities. Senator Graham urges U.S. to strike it. And again, they're still here saying that it was drones. Saudi Arabia confirms about half of Aramco's production interrupted due to drone strikes. I can't read all of that headline. Let me open it up here. At least one killed, multiple people shot in Canada's Mississauga. Something, I can't pronounce it, but you can see it. Make up your own pronunciation. All right, possible shooting reported at mall in U.S. state of Virginia. Police on scene. I do believe that turned out to be a nothing burger, if I'm not mistaken. Fast-moving brush fire engulfs California's Riverside community. Okay, and now we are to yesterday's news. Permission to dock Russia's floating nuclear power plant reaches Arctic port it was built for. Rule Britannia, Hong Kong protesters sing ex-colonial sovereign's anthem. Saudi oil fire is winner for U.S. and its plans for war with Iran, says Kim.com. Maximum lies. Iran rejects U.S. claim it attacks Saudi oil facilities. Warns it's ready for war. Massive heart attack for oil market. Drone raid on Saudi facilities may push oil to $100 per barrel, they mean. Taliban revokes months-long ban on Red Cross in Afghanistan. Saudi stocks slump after drone strikes hit Aramco oil plants. Netanyahu's West Bank annexation plan is vile attempt to win votes at expense of peace, says Turkey. Israel approves settlement in West Bank days before crucial elections. Drone, submarine, and hypersonic gliders, ? China's parade rehearsal prompts speculation. The latest source, GM offers new products for closed plants. U.S. is ready to tap strategic petroleum reserve amid attacks on Saudi oil facilities, which just blows my mind because from my understanding, we actually get very little oil from that facility, from my understanding. So I don't understand why we're all getting ready with our strategic oil reserves unless there's more to it. Moscow says drone attacks on Saudi oil facilities do not contribute to energy market stability. Let's see. Last night, Molotovs versus water cannons. Violence continues during Hong Kong protests. Trump authorized release of oil from strategic petroleum reserve if needed to keep markets supplied. Let's see. Trump says his DOJ should rescue Brett Kavanaugh in wake of new allegations. Presumption of innocence, ? Dems call for Kavanaugh's impeachment amid new sex assault allegations. First auto workers' national strike in 12 years could bring U.S. car giant GM work to a standstill. Trump says waits verification on oil attacks. Culprit from Riyadh, U.S. locked and loaded to respond. Okay, so we're more or less saying we're ready to respond. Iran saying bring it on. Governor Cuomo bans the sale of flavored e-cigarettes in New York. Trump slams fake news reports alleging no conditions at a U.S.-Iran meeting. German money kills Jews. Far-right activist defaces EU office in Israel. Okay, now we're from the news I shared out this morning. No deal. Auto workers strike against GM in contract dispute. OxyContin maker Purdue Pharma files for bankruptcy protection. Tropical storm Humberto becomes hurricane. Iran hits back at unacceptable accusations over Saudi oil attacks as Trump says something. I don't know. Hang on. We'll see. As Trump warns U.S. locked and loaded. Okay. Russia concerned over attacks on Saudi Aramco. Warns against... we got to do it again. Sorry, sometimes these headlines don't come up with the link. Warns against rushing to conclusions on culprit. And we got another one. I'll just open it before I even start. Iranian Revolutionary Guard seize vessel in Gulf over alleged smuggling of fuel to UAE, says reports. So now we've got another vessel that Iran has seized, and I'm really not sure how that's going to play into everything quite yet. I'm sure it will escalate it. I have no doubt. Moscow and New Delhi in talks over moving part of S-400 production to India. Erdogan hosts leaders of Russia and Iran as he pushes for border safe zone in Idlib. It is ours. India ready to move forward and reclaim Pakistan's share of Kashmir, minister warns. Oil prices skyrocket 20% after attacks on Saudi plants disrupt global supply. Gold and silver rally as investors seek safe havens amid global uncertainty. World sleepwalking into total nuclear war as callous elites fear no bloodshed, says a Russian scholar. Apple to challenge EU over record $14 billion tax dodging case. BRICS Bank greenlights new projects in India, Russia, and South Africa worth $1.4 billion. Paris Justice Minister backs accepting Snowden, who floats taking refuge in France. Prematurely assigning blame for attack on Saudi oil facilities is irresponsible, says China. Vapes spiked with illegal drugs show dark side of CBD craze. And I shared this out, although it doesn't even make sense, right? Because what happened doesn't have anything to do with CBD oil either. So it's just, they're running with this in as many areas to try to take down as many different things as they can. It's really sad. A Saudi-led coalition claims Iranian weapons used in attack on Riyadh's oil plants. Thank you, Mr. President. Trump thanks himself for making U.S. top energy producer. Yeah, I bet if, no, I don't know if I should go there. I wonder how we got there, Mr. Trump. Blast and fire hits major virus lab in Russia where HIV, Ebola, and anthrax strains are stored. That's always good news, right? Netanyahu says he will annex Jewish settlements in Hebron if re-elected. Saudi Arabia shuts down pipeline to Bahrain after drone strikes, says a report. Iran's Rouhani joins Putin and Erdogan for Syria talks amid Saudi oil facilities attack debacle. Preliminary results show Iranian weapons used in oil plant attack, says a Saudi-led coalition. Putin to Saudi Arabia, our air defenses can protect you like they do Turkey and Iran. That's what I was talking to earlier, what I was talking about. Trump says certainly looking like Iran was responsible for attacks on Saudi Arabia. Drone strikes on oil facilities were Yemen's reciprocal response for Saudi bombing, says Rouhani. And lastly here, Russia cuts legal ties with Soviet past. Most bizarre old laws will be axed. Alrighty, that is your headlines. Let me go ahead and get the monologue closed up, and we will go from there. For those here for the live show, don't go anywhere, don't do anything. We'll be live till 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. For those that just watched the monologue, or if you're watching the recording later on, thank you very much. As always, God bless you. We love you, and be one with your spirit.